Hello guys, how's it going? Fed here. Welcome to my lore channel. Here I'll be looking on breaking down the contents of League of Legends universe, and with that out of the way, let's get started. This time we'll be featuring Jayce and Viktor. Jayce is a brilliant inventor who has pledged his life to the defense of Piltover and its unyielding pursuit of progress. With his transforming Hextech hammer in hand, Jayce uses his strength, courage, and intelligence to protect his hometown. While revered throughout the city as a hero, he hasn't taken well to the attention it brings. Still, Jayce's heart is in the right place, and even those who envy his natural skills are grateful for his protection in the City of Progress. A native son of Piltover, Jayce was raised to believe in the principles that made the city great: invention, discovery. With a talent for understanding machinery, Jayce earned the honor of being the youngest apprentice to have ever been offered patronage by Clan Geopara, one of the Piltover's most respected ruling clans. Utterly unsurprised, Jayce took the offer and spent most of his early years constructing potential Hextech devices and designing transformable tools for Piltover's working class. Most things came easy to Jayce, and he could never understand why his peers had so much trouble with that. As a result, nearly everyone who worked alongside Jayce found him arrogant, dismissive, and unwilling to slow his pace to help his colleagues catch up. Only one person ever managed to match Jayce's intelligence while also maintaining a healthy indifference to his superior attitude. His name was Viktor. The two met at a mandatory Progress Day party and immediately bonded over how little either of them wanted to be there. They started working together shortly after. While Jayce sought to improve humanity through technology, Viktor sought to solve problems inherent to humanity itself by augmenting them. They constantly argued with one another, but their conflicts never got personal. Though their methods were different, the two colleagues knew their ultimate goals were pretty much the same. More than that, they knew both what it was like to be ostracized by their colleagues, Viktor because of his unconventional thinking, and Jayce because of his rudeness. Together, Jayce and Viktor invented a mechanized construction suit for Piltover's working class. However, the two reached an argument when Viktor's design for the next version of the suit included a Hextech implant that would increase the wearer's strength by 10, while also preventing them from getting tired, panicking, or disobeying instructions from their superiors. While Viktor considered this feature a brilliant means of reducing construction accidents, Jayce found this an insult to free will. The two nearly came to blows over the design, and ultimately, after Jayce won the Academy of Viktor's invention, Viktor was stripped of his honors and expelled from Piltover's scientific community. As Jayce studied in solitude, explorers discovered a raw, blue crystal deep within the Suriman Desert. Even though Jayce volunteered to experiment on it, his rudeness in doing so forced his clan to give it to their better-mannered scholars as a form of punishment to Jayce. Yet, after many months, the scholars reached to a conclusion. The crystal was worthless. A power-drained hunk of rock, the disappointed clan leaders finally handed over the crystal to Jayce, assuming that even he, with his remarkable intelligence, wouldn't be able to learn anything from it. Jayce spent many months running every variety of tests on the crystal. He superheated it, then deep-froze it. He tinkered around it, observed it, and hypothesized, and beat his own head against the wall. Quite simply, Jayce wasn't used to working hard. This crystal was the first thing that had ever resisted his considerable mental aptitude. For the first time in his life, he realized how his co-workers must have felt trying to solve a problem only to bump against your own limitations. Jayce realized that despite how dismissive he'd been toward his fellow scholars, none of them ever gave up. None of them ever stopped seeking the very things that defined Piltover: progress, discovery. If they wouldn't give up, Jayce decided he wouldn't either. And maybe he'd try to be nicer. Just maybe. Jayce approached the problem from a completely different angle. Rather than trying to experiment on the crystal as a whole, he wondered, why not run more invasive experiments on a smaller shard? Jayce cut off a piece of the crystal and suspended it in liquid alloy. As he sent a voltaic current through the liquid metal, Jayce's eardrums nearly shattered from the booming baritone that blasted from the crystal. Heat radiated from it, and with a flash, it glowed bright enough to nearly blind him. That was unexpected. This was potentially dangerous, but this was progress. Jayce couldn't erase the smile from his face as he worked well through the night into the dawn. The next day, Jayce was surprised to find his old friend Viktor on his doorstep. Alerted by the massive power spike from the crystal shard, Viktor had a simple proposition. Since his expulsion from the Piltovan scientific community, Viktor had commenced work on a secret project in Zone. He'd finally learned how to achieve his dream, how to eradicate disease, hunger, and hatred. If Jayce joined him, the two would accomplish more than anyone from Piltover or Zone could have dreamed of. They'd save humanity from itself. Jayce had heard a monologue like this before from Viktor. He never liked where it led. Viktor told Jayce that he only needed one thing for his glorious evolution: a power source like Jayce's crystal. Jayce disagreed, informing Viktor that what he truly needed was a moral compass. Viktor, who had long grown tired of Jayce's rudeness, leapt upon him, grabbed the crystal and knocked Jayce unconscious with it. When Jayce awoke hours later, he noticed that though the Suriman crystal was gone, Viktor hadn't seemed to notice or care about the smaller shard. Jayce knew whatever Viktor was planning, he would only resort to these measures if he were close to completion. Even though he didn't know what Viktor's glorious evolution consisted of, it probably didn't have a lot of respect for the free will of others. Without wasting a single second, Jayce retrieved the suspended shard and installed it into a massive transforming hammer, a demolicious invention he'd abandoned years ago for lack of a strong enough battery to power it. Though he had no idea where Viktor might have taken the crystal, he could feel the Hextech hammer vibrate, pulling him not north, south, east or west, but down toward the undercity of Zone. The shard, eager to be reunited with the crystal from which it had chiseled, eventually led Jayce to a warehouse in the depths of the sump. Within the cavernous building, Jayce found something horrifying. Dozens of corpses, their skulls sawed open and hollowed out, their brains transplanted into an army of immobile metal soldiers, hooked up to the now pulsing crystal. This was the first step in Viktor's glorious evolution. Jayce's stride grew less confident as he approached Viktor. He and Viktor had not always seen eye to eye, but this was something else entirely. For the first time, it occurred to Jayce that he might have to kill his old friend. He called out to Viktor, flinching as the army of robots stood to attention. Jayce asked him to look around, to see what he was doing, whatever This evolution wasn't the progress they fought for in their youths. He even, to Viktor's surprise, apologized for acting like such a jerk. The automatons sprinted towards Jayce, breaking free of the wires connecting them to the crystal. He gripped the hammer tight, realizing he'd never actually used it before. When the first automaton was within reach, he swung as hard as he could, feeling the surge energy power his muscles, accelerating the hammer's movement until Jayce was worried it might fly out of his hands. It slammed into the automaton, all but exploding it into a hail of metal. Despite the obliteration of their comrade, the other machines didn't even flinch as they rushed to Jayce. That's when Jayce, for the first time in his life, decided to stop thinking and just break stuff. No longer caring for his own safety, Jayce used every last bit of strength he had to break free from Viktor's automatons. He sprinted to the glowing crystal and struck it with all the Hextech enhanced force his hammer could muster, crushing the mystical object. Viktor cried out in horror as the crystal shattered to fragments, the shockwave blasting them all backwards as the army of automatons collapsed lifelessly to the floor. The warehouse started collapsing and Jayce barely managed to escape. Viktor's body was never found. Upon his return to Piltover, Jayce informed his clan masters of Viktor's nefarious plans. Soon, Jayce found himself a topic of discussion in both Zone and Piltover. Hailed for his quick thinking in a time of crisis, Jayce became a beloved figure, earning himself the nickname the Defender of Tomorrow. Jayce cared little for the adoration of his fellow Piltovans, but took the nickname to heart. He knew that Viktor was still out there plotting his revenge. One day, maybe someday soon, an awful lot of trouble was headed for Piltover, and Jayce would be waiting. Well people, thanks for tuning in for Jayce's and Viktor's lore spotlight. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you can give it a thumbs up if you did, or subscribe if you want to see more videos. It's been Fed and see you guys next time. Also, I would appreciate it if you could check my DeviantArt artists link in the description.